Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to welcome everybody to the July 1st meeting of the Murfreesboro Parks and Recreation Commission. And at this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask Councilman Eddie Smotherman for our prayer and pledge, please.
Okay. Just before we do the prayer, if you would, I'd like to let everybody know that we've got some special guests in the audience today. My wife and son are in the audience, as well as her grandmother and her aunt visiting from Iowa. So welcome to Murfreesboro, and hope you enjoy your stay while you're here. If you would, go ahead and join me with the prayer at this time. Lord, we thank you for this day and the many blessings that you've given us on this day. We thank you for all the people who work for our city and their dedication to their jobs, and we hope that you provide for them as well as protect them. We're proud of our city, where our women are strong, our children are above average, and our men are good looking. We appreciate all the blessings that you give us, and in these things we pray. In your Christ's name, amen.
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 I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Eddie. At this time, you have the minutes in front of you from our last meeting, and I ask that you take a second and look at those, and then I'll entertain a motion to approve, please.
If no changes, I move to approve the minutes of the May 6, 2015 meeting.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Minutes pass. We'll go right on to new business, Lanny, and I think Mr. Arbit is here this morning to introduce someone to us.
That's correct. Welcome, everyone. I have a couple of new staff members I would like to introduce. I have Casey Neal and Pam Owen. Casey and Pam will assist me in running the new Adams Tennis Complex. They both have been lifetime tennis players, lots and lots of tennis knowledge. So I think we have really hit it out of the park with these two hires, and I think we're going to be ready to roll here pretty soon.
Great. Welcome, you guys. Thank you.
All right, that leads us into the next area. What I'd like to do today is kind of give everyone an update on the new indoor tennis complex. We actually had an informational open house last night, and there were approximately 200 people that came through the front doors. Very, very successful. Everyone that walked in was overly amazed, impressed, proud. I think we have a really, really nice facility that everyone should be and will be proud of. We will be starting to sell memberships the week of July the 6th. Everyone will put that on their calendar. The week of July the 6th through July the 10th, we will sell memberships to the general public, and that will be from 10 a.m. until 7 p.m. there at the Adams Tennis Complex. If people just come by, we'll be glad to sign them up and give them all the information. I did want to touch a little bit on the different type of memberships that we will sell, so the general public will kind of have an idea when they come of what we will be offering. We do have several different membership types. Of course, we have a family membership that's $600. It includes the family that lives at your house, your siblings, your dependents, husband and wife. We also have an individual membership that is $450. We have a senior, collegiate, and a youth membership that's $250. So the prices are pretty reasonable, so I hope that everyone will be interested in coming out and purchasing a membership. Basically, the big highlights of what that membership offers you is you will be able to reserve permanent court time. We will have 25 weeks between the months of October and April that we will set aside permanent court time for our members. And what I mean by that is what they'll do is when they buy their membership, they will actually be able to choose a 1 or 2 hour block that they would like to come each of those 25 weeks that the course will be reserved for them. There is an additional cost for that, but it does give them the peace of mind that every time they show up, there is a court available. One of the other perks to being a member also is that if you call us and it's less than 24 hours before you would like to play and a court's available, then there's no cost. So that's kind of a nice perk for members. We will basically open the doors July the 15th. What I mean by that is we will open the doors at 7 a.m. for business, but then we will have our ribbon cutting at 9:30 a.m. That's when we would invite everyone to come out. MTSU will be there. Hopefully all of our dignitaries will be there, and we will do the official ribbon cutting for the facility. Again, that's at 9:30 a.m., and that's on July the 15th. It's a Wednesday. I wanted to touch a little bit on the hours of operation. I know that's been another big question for us. The facility will actually be open 90 hours a week. Monday through Thursday, we will open at 7 a.m., and we will close at 10 p.m. Friday, we'll open at 7 a.m. and close at 9 p.m. Saturday is 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., and Sunday is 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. We close a little early on Saturdays and Sundays. That way, if we do have special events or tournaments or something that needs to come inside, we do have that space available in case it's needed.
Any questions for Mr. Arbit? Man, we're excited.
We're excited too.
It's another jewel in the crown.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. So much needed.
It is.
Long awaited. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Laney, you going to handle the next item?
The next item, discussion of the Harpeth Youth Soccer Agreement. Michael, if you could come up. Michael, our athletic coordinator, is here today, and he's going to go over that agreement. One of the things I want to discuss before Michael starts is, if you recall, we had the Harpeth Football League, and some people refer to it as the Nashville Football League, come to us last time and request that they be able to use some of the fields at McKnight and Siegel. And they had, and I know the discussion around the commission was, you know, are we going to let a Nashville Football League come in? What about our league? And what we discovered through the whole process was that there was basically around 2 teams that were made up solely of Murfreesboro folks that wanted to play in Murfreesboro, wanted to practice in Murfreesboro, etc. And so that was one of the things that the commission had discussed and had said that if it's Murfreesboro residents, then we should afford them the opportunity like we do other Murfreesboro residents. And so the Harpeth League is back. They have basically about 7 teams now. I think they give me a number of around 94.
Yeah, about 94, and I think at those 94, about 85 of them are from Murfreesboro, Rutherford County area.
Yes. So, again, they're back. They would like to look at a fall-spring agreement with us. We went ahead and prepared an agreement for your review, just discussion at this particular time. But, Michael, if you want to take it from there.
Yes, before you do have the agreement that is for the 2015-2016 season. And while we are waiting for some of the team names, we ask we kind of look over that and kind of review it for approval. And along with that, they are also requesting basically become a full partnership with the Parks and Recreation Department and become a recognized league so they don't necessarily have to have the fees incurred with the practices and games like our other leagues. So we're also asking to review that request as well.
Okay.
And if I could jump in, this is the round football that we might also know as
Yes.
soccer.
Yeah.
Although we do regular football for our groups,
Right.
just as Eddie Smotherman would know from years past.
So any discussions here?
So, just to kind of outline what we're asking from the commission, number one is to consider entering into an agreement again for, again, those teams that are represented from the Murfreesboro area, those kids, verifying, like we said we would before, providing practice and play areas for them. And then the second thing is, do we still want to charge a fee for field rental for the Murfreesboro kids, or do we want to recognize that like we do other leagues that do not pay field rentals and provide those spaces for them? So those would be the two considerations that we would ask you to discuss and give us direction to bring back an agreement in the August commission meeting for your approval.
And you mentioned, Michael, that almost all these kids are Murfreesboro kids, almost.
Right.
Just a handful, what was it, 90-something kids total?
Yeah, I believe it's about 94 kids, and like I said, 85 out of those are from the Murfreesboro, Rutherford County area. And I think you'll probably see in a lot of our other leagues, you'll also have some people that will come and play, just because we do get a lot of compliments with our athletic facilities.
Let me ask one question on this Harpeth Youth Soccer Association. Now, their registration, when they register for these for this Harpeth Youth, is all their fees, registration, or however much it costs to be a part of this association, is that in Williamson County? Do they pay somebody in Williamson County, or are they paying somebody here in Rutherford County to be a part of that?
I'm not exactly sure on that. I'd have to check. I would almost think that they would have to pay some kind of a membership through that Nashville Harpeth area for that membership, and to be recognized through their league.
Okay. My thing is this. Now, if they paying registration or a joiner's fee or whatever fee they join, if they paying that out of state or out of city or out of county, I don't mind them having a problem using the field. But as far as waiving fees for the fields, and I have a problem with that. Even though they're locals, maybe Rutherford County and Murfreesboro people that's a part of it, I think they still need to pay something for practice usage of the field, because they're really not associated with like Dixie Youth or Kiwanis or other local organizations or associations that we have here in Rutherford County or the city of Murfreesboro. So that's how I feel about it.
What is the major difference between this agreement and the agreement that I think in March,
The one that, Ms. Gills Harris, the one we approved in March was just for the spring, and it terminated in the end of May.
But what's
So this would be an agreement that would pick up basically September and run through the end of next May. As far as the difference, the only thing different is reflecting more teams. Pretty much everything else is the same through there that we approved before. So it's just the fact that their portion that is in Murfreesboro, the way some of these soccer leagues work is they're regionalized. And they do that because of the way they divide up into divisions. And you just kind of have to get into the nuts and bolts. But there's Division I players and Division II players and so forth, and Division I being the highest. And so they combine efforts in different areas to develop these Division I or Division II players into those particular teams. We know that some of the coaches that are coaching these kids, most of them are here in Murfreesboro, coming from Murfreesboro. Speaking of the fees, generally the fees cover the cost of the officials and the cost of coaching. So that's where really the fees go to. The thing that we've seen, and Mr. Miller has been around for a while, and Mr. Smotherman in athletics, and what you see is you see certain groups that start wanting to do the same sport, but in different ways, and they want to compete in different ways. So there's outgrowths. So instead of having one baseball league, you start having 2 baseball leagues, and then you go to 3 baseball leagues. And in the past, we've had 3 baseball leagues. We had a travel league that was what we've referred to as Terry Fan League, which was an outgrowth of the Murfreesboro baseball. But now we have Murfreesboro Baseball and Little League, and they've incorporated some of those things into their program, so we can do those as well. But you still see those different competitive levels and people within our community, because we're now a big community, are seeking those types of opportunities for their children. I know I had a conversation with a lady that lives like 2 doors down from me, that her daughter, who is, I think, probably 8, is competing in this league. And she said the coach that we had last year moved to this, and we followed the coach and all of her friends who live right in the area, so they're all city residents. So that's what you're looking at, of people that are participating in these 7 teams that are representing Murfreesboro. So, we feel an obligation to our residents to provide those facilities. So that's why we bring this, because that's what it is.
I know we had a lot of discussion in March about the agreement. I don't know if we have the data or not, but did we lose a lot of our kids to the Harper, or did a lot of them come to us, vice versa, since we did the agreement?
I think some of them are moving, and some of them are just joining, because now they have a choice. And I keep referring back to baseball. You'll get one child that will play for Murfreesboro baseball for a couple of seasons, and then he'll move over to Optimus Little League because he wants that other experience. They move from a district to a region to a state to a national. So there's different opportunities at different levels. So depending on the ability of the child is what they're doing in terms of choices. And so that's why they're making those particular choices.
And I still think it goes back to the basis. Like I said, I don't have a problem with the Harper Youth Soccer Association, but like I said, it's basis. Even though they have children that play in that team or in that league, they're really not based out of Murfreesboro. You see what I'm saying? So I couldn't I couldn't take a team out of Murfreesboro to Shelbyville or another county and play on their fields and use their facilities without a fee. You see what I'm saying? Because I'm not based. Now, if I was based in Shelbyville or Nashville, I would not expect to be assessed a fee. But if I'm not based in that city, I would expect for me to pay for rental fee, for game, whatever, if there's a fee, even. Now, if I got kids that's based there, that's a different story, because, I mean, not kids that's based there, but if I registered in that city, if I registered in the city of Smyrna or Shelbyville or whatever city and formed a team, see, because I'm based out of that city, now I don't expect to pay certain, field usage and all that stuff. So, like I said, that's just my opinion, So.
And that was one of the reasons we want to get that discussion going with the commission.
Lanning?
Yes, sir.
I look at it a great deal like, and I'll use your baseball analogy because if I start using the football analogy, it's going to get really confusing. But with baseball, when I started coaching T-ball, I think we started out with the Parks and Rec League, had 6 teams, I believe it was, we had. And as the city grew, you saw the Murfreesboro Baseball Association came into existence, and then we saw them split into the group that was over at the Sportscom, and then Barfield took on their own league out there. And so a lot of this is just natural growth. I mean, within our junior pro football program, we had junior pro, and then the next thing we had was maybe the Mustang League, and then we had the Blue Raider League, and I think there's even another league out there now or two. But but with the growth of those leagues and expansion, we as a city continued to provide as much service as we could. I think in this case, we've got kids who are from Murfreesboro who are using these facilities contrary to where they sign up. And they're still playing in Murfreesboro, and they're Murfreesboro kids. And I don't have a problem with us providing facilities because basically they're there and let's use them. That's what we built them for. But but you know, if you look at Little League's home base is not in Murfreesboro. I mean, Little League's home office is in Canton, Ohio, or somewhere, I think. But I think it's very important that we try and provide and get as many kids involved as we can. And of course, you know, if you charge a fee, then it just increases the amount of cost to those kids who participate. And ultimately, through that process, you will start eliminating children from playing because the fees start going up to participate. Because ultimately, it's going to be added to the expense for each child to participate in that league, and that sign-up fee will be greater if they have to pay for fee rentals. Hopefully, the league will compensate what they charge these kids over a period of time. I'm sure hopefully it'll balance out so that we aren't just giving them more money to use for pay coaches and pay referees, but ultimately the league will continue to grow and we'll see more kids involved, and more kids involved means better, healthier kids. And so I think there's a plus side to it if we try to minimize the expense to the children as much as we possibly can here. So I would certainly encourage us to go ahead and approve the contract, me personally, as far as having Harpeth involved with using our fields. I would also think we would look at it as like we would look at any other league that has Murfreesboro kids playing in Murfreesboro as a Murfreesboro league, and contrary to whether it's called Harpeth River or Stones River or whatever river it's named after, ultimately it's Murfreesboro kids playing on our field. So I think that it makes sense for us not to charge them. So that's just my feeling.
Any other thoughts? Lanny, what did we charge them in the spring as far as fees? Or Michael, do you know?
We usually charge $20 an hour for their practices, and then $75 for like a half day's worth of games, or if they do more than a full game days, it's like $150. Mm-hmm. But as you probably see in the use agreement, we do require them to show proof of insurance, $1 million insurance policy with the city of Murfreesboro listed as additional insured, just like we do our other recognized leagues.
We're not looking for a motion today on this agreement. We're just kind of getting this discussion out. Is that
That's
kind of
right.
what we're looking for today?
Plus, there's some other details that we need to put in here, and I wanted to get the feedback from the commission before we finalized this and brought it back to you for your approval.
The Harpeth group, they're playing other places also other than
They are.
Murfreesboro, correct?
They are.
Their teams are playing all over Middle Tennessee, I guess.
Much like Murfreesboro Soccer does in their division, the striker division. They're a traveling team. They invite people here. People invite them to other cities. They play what they call friendlies, but it's normal in that particular competitive level for them to go to different areas to participate. Same in baseball, same in football. That's what you see.
But even in that friendly scenario that you've mentioned, we still have, even if it's a team who comes from a different area that plays on the soccer field, it's generally playing against a Murfreesboro team, though.
Correct.
So basically, it's like a tournament game, but it's a tournament game with a team coming,
It's-
very much
it's-
like a high school game where you've got your home team and a visiting team.
It's
So
very similar to doing a round robin in the afternoon.
Okay, if there's no other discussion, we've had some good discussion on this, so we'll wait till our next meeting and bring it up again.
So we'll, based on what I hear from the commission, we'll move forward. If anybody has any other thoughts, you can email me those, but we will bring that back in the August setting and get you to approve it.
Very good, very
Okay.
good. Thank you, everyone.
you.
Thank you, Michael. Okay, the next item on the agenda is an update on 2035 Parks and Recreation. Becky, you got this? Or
I
you're
think
getting
I'm-
ready for your, okay.
I think I'm
understand.
going to handle this, but she's got, I've got a small PowerPoint I wanted to show you. And I was recently invited to the Noon Kiwanis Club, and I put this together really kind of to talk about the 2035 plan. And as you know, the city is kind of right in the middle right now of the strategic plan, the comprehensive plan for Murfreesboro. And they've just completed the draft of what we call Chapter 6, which deals with Parks and Recreation. So I wanted to go over that a little bit and just kind of let you know where we are with parks. But really there was, it's hard for me to see, but you can really see that there were 3 different themes that came out of the parks chapter. One was talking about the economic development and strategies. And Parks and Recreation, you know, you really have to think big picture when you're thinking about this plan. And all I have is Chapter 6 in here. But it intertwines with all of the other chapters. It intertwines with the economic development of the city. It intertwines with people coming to the city, what attracts people to the city, what attracts industry, what attracts white-collar jobs to the city. There's a lot of things that Parks and Recreation does that plays a particular role in the development of a city in itself. So we talk about a lot of different things within the Parks and Recreation chapter that intertwines into the development of a comprehensive plan for the entire city. One of the things that you will see in the plan is the 3 pillars that is put out now as kind of the guiding principles for best practices with the National Recreation and Parks Association. And those 3 principles focus on conservation, health and wellness, and social equity. And if you start thinking about what parks really does, conservation, when we start thinking about the things that we do, our greenway corridors, our green areas, our wetlands, our river trail, our rivers, those kind of things are the natural resources that are attractors in Murfreesboro. It really makes what Murfreesboro is all about. The river has a lot of history that is tied to it, goes all the way back. I know we just did some studies with MTSU that we'll be talking about the next time we come and meet, but it takes us back almost 6,000 years. So you think about there's a long history and there'll be a long future in terms of our waterways and the way that we connect. And a lot of people don't really realize all of the things that we have. We have very unique things here. The underground springs that come up at Black Fox, Murphy Spring, Manny Springs, which is at Oaklands. Those are natural resources that we as a park system protect and take care of. So it's important. The health of the community. Parks and Recreation plays a huge role in the health of the community, in providing, getting people out, getting people active, etc. So that's one of the reasons, that's one of the national themes. And also the social equity, because everybody, regardless of economic status, regardless of ability, we always try to plan programs that are accessible to everyone. And then we give financial assistance as well. So that's a part of what we try to do as our recreation parks program. When we start looking at the conservation side, we take care as a park system 1,115 acres. Over half of that, 575 acres, are what we consider passive parklands. So as we start looking into the plan, there's some national standards that says how much passive area you should have, how much active area you should have, how much parkland overall you should have to serve the number of people that you have. So we start looking at areas, and you may not think about these, but the first picture that popped up, that's Discovery Center. That's Murphy Spring. That's where we used to get our water. That was our water source for many, many years for Murfreesboro. And then the next is a river trail, which is a greenway corridor. We call them linear parks, and it covers about 125 acres. And then, of course, the Stones River. And we take care of that resource in many respects, adding buffer for water quality. I know we were standing at the tennis facility this morning talking of water quality. They were washing something on the roof, and the water came out of the water spout, and it went right into the brick pavers, and it wasn't running off. And I made mention to the group that I was there with. I said, look, that's part of the water quality for the tennis that you really never think about, adding water quality into a facility, but that's what we've done there. And that keeps our rivers and streams clean for our drinking water and for our recreation. The other thing that we're trying to do is our outdoor recreation program, which we call Outdoor Murfreesboro. We're really getting into educating the youth, adults about a lot of aspects of outdoor recreation, what's important. We talk about reforesting Murfreesboro, one backyard at a time, talking about plants and animals and all those kind of things, because, again, that's what makes really kind of the quality of city that we have. You can see that we involve parents when we have those programs, and we try to provide those venues, go ahead, that gives you those opportunities. And you can see the nature trail at Barfield, and you can see the Greenway. Two different experiences, and different people want those. Wellness, health and wellness, getting people out, getting them active in the community. And this one really goes more to the wellness side. And you think about, well, how does a swimming pool do that? Getting people up, getting them active. I know when you've been to the pool or your children's been to the pool, they come home in the afternoon and they're exhausted. Well, it's because they've been working out. And it hits a lot of groups, this water park hits a lot of groups that other things don't hit. And I ask people, how do you get a teenager to climb a 30-foot ladder 25 times in an afternoon? And they go, oh, no. I said, put a water slide on the other side of it. And they'll do it all the time. They may climb it 30 times. So it's a part of getting people out, getting them active, and moving in the community. All the facilities, provide for different activities. You can see the one with the social. You can see the lady that's floating. That's part of our Flick and Float, which was a state award winner last year. But again, getting people out and getting them active in the community and providing those venues where they can do that. The half marathon. I've heard numerous people tell me that they've started running because of that race. And so we're affecting people as we start developing these different programs, and now our programs really start hitting kids at the very early ages, and you can see the comparison between the adults and children in this slide. Move forward. Whether it's athletics for youth, for adults, or for the children. And what we've done in our programs now is we've started introducing athletics, arts, all other kinds of things within our programs so that they can start making those lifelong choices. And Gary talked about tennis. Tennis is a lifelong sport. And so people, the more we get them out, the more we get them active in the community and provide those venues, the healthier our community be. And that's important because if you think about what attracts industry, it's a healthy workforce, because when they come in, they want to know that they can come to work every day. Their health costs for insurance is going to be low. And so you start thinking there's some secondary benefit throughout the community that starts attracting, and they're looking at those statistics as they go through it. Continuing on, there's a lot of things, and I'm kind of singing to the choir here for the Parks and Recreation Commission, but, we had 140 teams in our basketball league. We just finished talking about 85 kids from Murfreesboro playing soccer, and we have another 1,400 playing soccer in another league. We're moving people into the community. We're getting people out and getting them to go and do certain things. Athletic tournaments. This month, we have, starting this weekend, we have the TYBA state tournament, and then we have the BPA World Tournament. But we have tournaments. We have people that are in Murfreesboro that will participate in those tournaments. And yes, that does bring quite a bit of economic impact to our city. Social equity. These are pictures of our Wisdom of the Elders program. And again, regardless of what age, we're trying to get people out. We're trying to get them engaged. We're trying to keep their minds active, trying to keep them moving in the community, and it gives them a lot of things to do. We work in our Wisdom of the Elders program with seniors, but they also network with youth, so that information that is there, encapsulated in that wealth of information with the seniors, is passed on to that youth, and they can appreciate what's coming up in the future. The other thing that we talk about social equity is we talk a lot about athletics, but there's a lot of folks that don't participate in athletics. They participate in other programs. So we want to make sure that as we offer programs, we offer programs that hit all segments of the community, whether it's in cultural arts, whether it's in outdoor rec, whether it's in other areas, that gives people opportunity to participate in parks. We're starting to develop programs and really target certain areas, just like our youth development. We concentrate on the whole child here. I know that's one of the things that Dr. Gilbert and I have talked about quite extensively. It's really important that you look at not just one particular area of a child, but the whole child. So as we start looking at youth development, we start, with the basic same things schools would do. We look at homework, we help them with their homework. In Patterson, we have the Patterson Library. There's a lot of things that goes in, but we also work on their health and wellness. We have classes that do that. We talk about nutrition. We try to teach them healthy eating habits. We work with mentors in that program so that they have adult intervention, and we really concentrate on developing the leadership and the character within that youth so that they can become the future leaders, hopefully someday sitting at this commission making decisions. So there's a lot that goes into those particular programs. And I know you can't see these highlights, but one of the things that I wanted to point out from this slide is that last year we gave out $432,247.50 in financial assistance to people across the community, adults and children, for financial assistance to make sure that everyone had an opportunity to participate. One of the things that's pointed out in the study is that that they would like to see us pursue CAPRA certification, which is a national certification through the Commission of Accreditation of Parks and Recreation Agencies. We have been working on that as a department now for about 3 years, and we're probably, I'd say, 60% complete. One of the things that is pointed out in the 2035 plan is there needs to be a comprehensive master plan for parks and recreation. In the requirements, there's 151 requirements, 37 that are essential that you meet, mandatory that you meet. In that mandatory, one of them is the city's comprehensive plan. The other would be the master plan, which really kind of gets it down because this one is looked at as a view of, say, 30,000 feet, so to speak, kind of the overall big picture view. The master plan gets you right down to ground level. And then the strategic plan, which we did, you can recall, about 5 years ago, and we have held off on redoing the strategic plan to make sure that it parallels with this and parallels with the future master plan. Hopefully over the next year, we'll start into the master plan for parks. One of the things I wanted to point out, you can see the TDEC logo down there, is we are accredited through the state. They call it benchmarking. We're a Tier 3 benchmark community. We're one of two Tier 3 within the state of Tennessee, Germantown being the other. And Germantown is a nationally accredited city. It does have its CAPRA certification. And with the CAPRA certification, they're automatically become a Tier 3. So that was awarded to them because their CAPRA certification, we actually went through the process and gained ours. So we're pretty proud of that. All right, move forward. Sports and tourism. Murfreesboro has been recognized by Sports Magazine as being really in 2011, as being the sports capital of Tennessee. And because of that, the Chamber has trademarked that. So that's a big deal. Location, from a location standpoint, Murfreesboro is 600 miles from anywhere. And it's in the center of the state. And so everybody seems to be attracted. And then when they come in and they see our facilities, they want to bring more things here. I know when I was at the President's Cup for soccer a couple of years ago, I was standing there talking to the president of USU Soccer from Texas, and he was sitting in a golf cart with a guy from Alaska, and we were watching a team from Hawaii and I think Minnesota play. So you just think about what that does, how that attracts tourism. Keep going. So for athletic tournaments, last year we hosted 68 tournaments. I don't know if that sunk in when I was saying that before, but 68 tournaments. It drew over 50,000 players and coaches into our community, and it produced a little over $27 million in economic impact. So it's significant. We think the Adams Tennis Center, which I think is the next slide, is going to add to those types of opportunities for us as we continue to go through. One of the things that they go through and they look at is, what do we need for parkland? They looked at us. One of the things that they saw was neighborhood parks. We were a real deficit in neighborhood parks. I know that and I've got a couple of slides later, but we're working with Murfreesboro City Schools, and I've talked to you about it before, on developing school park sites. And so those will become our neighborhood parks. I know we started by identifying 5 of those. We have 7 now. But it shows that we're in a deficit. And when 2035 comes, we're going to be somewhere around 1,300 acres short. So we're going to have to start looking at land. And if you think back to where I talked about active and passive, there are certain passive areas that are undevelopable for active. You think of Barfield Park, hills and rocks, no way you can build ball fields on those. So what the planners are doing, they're going back and looking at the next chart, Becky, if you could pull that up, that shows a deficit of 27, I think it's 27 athletic fields that we're short right now. But we have no land. We couldn't build 27 athletic fields right now because there's no place to build them. So you have to factor in the amount of space that is needed for those particular athletic facilities or other facilities, and then you have to balance that with a passive. So when you do that, you're looking somewhere around the neighborhood of 2,000 acres versus 1,200, which is kind of the standard. So keep going. School parks, I just put that up there. I mentioned it just a while ago. You can see the concentric circles that we put on this map that shows the radiuses and how we reach into the neighborhoods. When we looked at this reached almost, I think, 94% of the residents within Murfreesboro. And so that opens the conversation of how do we start developing our neighborhoods when they get into the chapter of neighborhood development and growth. Where do we strategically put these? How do we develop walkways and ways that people can get to those particular sites, which is important. And Dr. Gilbert has requested that we add 2 more. So we're at 7 now. I show 5 concentric circles, but we're at 7 now. So if you pull up the next slide, we'll show you what we've been doing. You can see on this slide that we've been taking the school grounds and then looking at it from a school park perspective and saying, how can we provide not only for the community, but provide for the school as well and fill the recreation needs that we need as well, because we know in the future we're going to need additional practice sites and different play sites for athletics. We know that the schools will have certain needs. So we've sat down and we've started combining our efforts in designing these areas so that when schools are not in session, those become neighborhood parks and sites for parks and recreation as well. Green infrastructure, you don't hear much about that, but there's cities that are really capitalizing on that because the green infrastructure is what is really attracting the high white-collar paying jobs. If you look at what's happened in Chattanooga and Knoxville, especially down around the aquarium area and all of that, Chattanooga's really become a green city. I mean, it really has. Knoxville is pushing that away because what they found is that really pulls in a lot of those industries. And if you can think about what's happened in Chattanooga with Volkswagen and a lot of those other places, same with Knoxville. those particular work sets may not be interested in, going out and playing athletics. They're more interested in biking, running, canoeing, doing those types of things. So that green infrastructure is so important in developing a very broad and attractive community when you do that. I put those back up, but you can see Discovery Center and some of the other areas that we have, and the river, etc. Move on. One of the other things that's pointed out is thinking about, as we go through all of the areas that have special events, historic areas, etc. So that's important too, to make sure that as we start looking at how do we attract people to our area and how do we provide for things like the First Friday in May on the square, Uncle Dave Baker Days, which is coming up next weekend, I think. So we've got to start looking at those collectively, all of our historical sites. The thing about health, promoting health, Tennessee is not one of the healthiest states. But Murfreesboro, if you look at where it is healthy in the state of Tennessee, Rutherford County, Williamson County are kind of at the top of that area. And if you look at why they're at the top of that area, and you start thinking about what we're doing in parks and what the city is doing, then it starts to make sense of how they move people within the community. Just keep going. And so the last slide I'll show you here is really the area to the west where we're planning the new West Park, and the comprehensive plan showed that very distinctly that we need a park in that area. That area is over 40,000 residents. That's bigger than the town of Smyrna. So you have to think that's how much that area has grown, and we have no park areas in that particular area. So that's a target area for us. Okay. I'm going to stop there. Is there any questions or anything that you would like to ask? I know that was kind of long, but it's important that we think about the future development of our park system, how it plays a role with our city, some of the major themes that we're thinking about in terms of, how do we still provide conservation, how do we connect communities, how do we provide a healthier park area, how do we make sure that we still provide for all the folks, and give everybody an opportunity. So any comment? You want to add anything?
I think one of the real exciting things about this plan is how interactive it's been with the community, the input and the interactions that have been encouraged from all different areas. One of the things that you can do now, the plan itself, this chapter, as things are being updated and proposed, more opportunities coming up for public meetings, for web-based interactions on the MindMixer websites. All of those things are kept up on the city's website. So www.murfreesborotn.gov, right on the homepage is a link. You can get to the Parks and Rec chapter from that link. So you can go through and look at these graphs and the ideas and contribute with those. I know Mr. Miller went to one of our park planning meetings representing this group. There have been several others that have participated. Really good stuff.
Very good presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
This community, our facilities and programs are second to none, and we know how fast we're growing around here, and if it wasn't for you guys doing all this planning and all the volunteers that Angela mentioned out there, many meetings and lots of planning and ideas go into these programs and presentations, and we know that if we're not doing this and moving forward that we're actually going to be going backwards. So we know how tight things are now. So I'm for sure looking forward to 2035, hoping that I can look back and see what we've done. So,
I
thank
think
you
there's
so
several
much.
of us that hope
Yeah,
we make it there.
yes, sir, all of them.
And there is so much planning going into it, and it's all coordinated planning. It's not just willy-nilly, for lack of a better term. But it's being coordinated between the Parks and Recreation. It's being coordinated between the schools. We're looking at road development to make sure that we have access to those schools through the neighborhoods, so that children can get there safely to the parks. So it's very choreographed and it's very well planned. And I think the 2035 plan up until this point has been mostly data gathering, but I think from this point forward, and what we're mostly going to see out of the 2035 plan will be ideas and intentions, and I think that'll be the more exciting side of what the 2035 plan or the comprehensive plan has to offer.
Very good, well said. Okay, Becky, you going to tell us about our many programs that are going on right now for the summer?
Yes, and the first program that we have coming up is this Saturday, July 4th. We have Celebration Under the Stars. So we encourage everybody to come on out to McKnight Park. We have the Rock the Pool Party from 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. there at Burrow Beach Outdoor Pool. Then from 5 to 8 p.m. for free, we have family games and activities. We'll have carnival-style games and inflatables. There will also be concessions starting at 5 p.m. that run through the start of the fireworks. If anybody wants to come and bring their family, they can bring their own picnic lunch, or they can purchase from the concessions that'll be there. From 8 to 9, we will have the Murfreesboro Symphony will play. We'll start out at 8 o'clock with the Murfreesboro Fire and Rescue Department Honor Guard. And then at 9 p.m., we will have the fireworks show. And it should be as fabulous as it has been the past few years. So we encourage everybody to come out to McKnight Park this Saturday. Also ongoing, we are about halfway through, is Movies Under the Stars, which features a different movie each week at 5 different sites throughout the city. Mondays is Cason Lane Trailhead, Tuesdays Cannonsburg Village, Thursdays Richard Siegel Neighborhood Park, Fridays Mitchell Nielsen Primary, and Saturdays is at Hobgood Elementary, except for this Saturday, July 4th. We will not have Movies Under the Stars. And the movies begin at 8:30, and it is free for all who want to attend. Then we have our, as Lanny mentioned earlier, our award-winning Flick and Float. And that will be this Wednesday, or not this Wednesday, but will be Wednesday, July 15th. And it's the movie is Free Willy, so it's water-themed. And the movie starts at 8:30, but the doors open at 7:30 at the Burrow Beach Outdoor Pool, so that people can come and swim for a little while with the water features on, because we have to turn them off so you can hear the movie when that begins at 8:30. And that's free, and that's part of, we offer several events throughout the summer, or throughout July, for National Park and Recreation Month. So that is the start today. July 1st is National Park and Recreation Month. So we encourage everyone to come out Wednesday, July 15th for the Flick and Float. Also ongoing, a program we have throughout the summer is Splash Out. And if you've missed the first two, there is one more left for the summer, and that is Thursday, July 16th at Old Fort Park, Pavilion Number 1. That is from 1:30 to 3, and that is free for all to attend. And that's where the fire trucks come out and they spray water up in the air, and the kids get to splash around in the water from the fire trucks. Also, as part of National Park and Recreation Month, we have an Island Fun Run on Friday, July 24th from 7 to 8 p.m., and that'll be held at the Gateway Island and Trail, and that is free. There's no pre-registration required. We just encourage everybody to come out that evening, and they can run or walk at the trails there at the Gateway Island and Trail. This leads us into August, but I wanted to make sure it was on everyone's radar now. National Night Out will be Tuesday, August 4th, and it is from 5 to 8 p.m., and it is free. Our parks and recreation sites are Patterson Park and Sportscom, but we will also have it at Rogers Park, Franklin Heights, Oakland's Court, and Rolling Acres, which is Spring Valley. So that is free for everyone. It's just to get everybody out and taking back the night from crime. It's National Night Out on Tuesday, August 4th. We also have coming up a yard sale at Cannonsburg Village. and that is Saturday, August 8th. The yard sale will start at 7 a.m. and go till noon, but we're encouraging people who want to have a booth space to go ahead and register for a booth space now. It is $10 per space for a 10 by 10 area, and they can do that at Cannonsburg to go ahead and get a space for their yard sale items. And for all of our programs and events, all our information can be found in our Rec Connection. You can get a hard copy of all our sites, or you can go to murfreesborotn.gov/parks, and we also have our Facebook pages.
Any questions for Becky? There's a lot going on.
Yes, there is.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And do we have any other business to discuss today?
I just want to remind Commission that we have the ribbon cutting for the tennis center, July 15th, 9:30, Adams Tennis Center, Old Fort Park.
In 8 days, 20 hours, and 54 minutes, Uncle Dave Macon Day starts.
Uncle Dave Macon Day.
And be sure and check it out. It's $1.2 million worth of economic impact that's going to take place. We've got acts like Dr. Ralph Stanley and the Steel Drivers coming to town, and that's July 10th, 11th, and 12th for the 39th annual Uncle Dave Macon Days.
And we're going to put you in charge of the weather.
The weather's not looking very good outside right now. I'm about to get hammered. But, so hang around City Hall and enjoy the next 20 minutes or so, because we're not going anywhere.
Thanks for your partnership with golf. Kids have really enjoyed it. It's been neat.
Very good. We're adjourned. Thank you.
Okay.